to the problem, or the problem will erupt. But in this case, for many of us at this Zoom, the problem doesn't exist for us anymore. That's incredible, like mind-boggling. The problem doesn't exist for us. Blows my mind. Yeah. And to have it, let's say, span like a 36-year life at the moment, the problem that does not exist for us, that's what more fitting an effect that you would imply to be a solution, you know? Yeah. But because of the solutions here, never had that quality of being a complete neutralizing of the dilemma. You know, when this solution took effect all over these years, it's a very rare thing that you find a solution here of this caliber, where the problem will not exist for you anymore. Yeah. Now, if let's say a rodent business exterminating rodents could guarantee that the problem will not exist for you anymore, they would be getting big fucking #1s on Yelp, so to speak. Yeah. But no, they can't promise the problem will not exist for you anymore, because the rats and the shit will come back usually. Yeah. But here, the problem will not exist for you anymore. Wow. Incredible. Yeah. And then you get on with what? I don't know. Get on with the uncovering and discarding the shit that doesn't work or doesn't float anymore. Yeah. So, all right, Mike, whenever you want to start. The most important person just came in. Yes, he's here. Everyone recognized it. Sit down. He's humble. He's humble in his most importantness. It's good. Yeah. So,
all right. Well, okay, great.
Yeah.
Welcome everybody to this with Hedderman. Friendly reminder: this is not an AA meeting. This is just one member's view on the exact nature of the wrong, as described on page 64 of the AA Big Book. And today, Paul wanted me to read from page 53. And so, do you, from which,
the bottom of it to 54, yeah.
53 to 54. That was natural. Okay.
Yes.
That was natural. But let us think a little more closely. Without knowing it, have we not been brought to where we stood by a certain kind of faith?
Stop there. Just stop there, Michael, and just say that sentence again. This is right out of the Big Book of Recovery. Just state, can you do that sentence again slowly?
Without knowing it, have we not been brought to...
Hold on, stop. Well, I'm gonna do something interesting. We're gonna stop at it. So without knowing it is the condition that allows the rest to go on. Yes? Yeah? So without knowing it.
Had we not been brought to where we stand by a certain faith.
All right, so had we not been brought to where we stand by a certain kind of faith. So this is the suggestion in the Big Book of Recovery, that wherever you are right now, you have been delivered to this point in this moment by faith. Not a faith, not Christianity, but faith. Sort of, to me, faith is sort of like gravity or antimatter, or yes, it's a force. And to me, that force is what manifests things here. And that force is neutral, but it's going to manifest through the vehicle it's put in. So many of us, I feel, are a perfect example of faith in the thought system. Yeah. To such a point, and they're going to get to it in a minute, such a point that the faith in the thought system is producing a prison with the bars as thoughts, but the real design is the faith. Yeah. So faith in the finite self is the dilemma that we face, all of us. Yeah. There's been faith in the finite self, and it's led us to be where we are right at this moment. And he's talking to people that should be in recovery that may not be in recovery. Yeah, yeah. All right, Mike, yeah.
Did we not believe reasoning?
All right, did we not believe reasoning? What's that? Faith, what's reasoning? The thoughts, yes? You go over something, you compare one to the other. So did we not believe in our thinking, in the thing? It's not our thinking, that's the dilemma, but in the thinking. Yeah, yeah, all right.
Do we not have confidence in our ability to think?
Yes, there's enough, see? So he's setting it up because this is really where the solution lies. The bondage of self is faith in the thoughts. Yeah. The bondage of self is faith in thoughts. Because through the thoughts, something plays God. So the thoughts tell you in the morning what the day's going to be like. So sometimes it says it's going to suck, so you don't get up. That's because of faith. Yeah. You had faith in what you were listening to, and therefore you didn't get up. Yeah. So that's what they're describing, the real dynamic of living. And they're putting out the point that faith, a neutral force, is given meaning by what it goes through. And it's trying to point out that for us as addicts and alcoholics, and actually for everyone, the faith has been put into the thought system. Yeah. And it's producing mountains out of molehills, a world of what's not happening, overriding the act of happening right now, all this. It's all based on faith. Yeah. Or trust. Not your faith and your trust. You're not directing the faith. You're the effect of the direction of faith. Yeah. All right. The next one is what I wanted to get to, because it's an incredible definition.
What was that but a sort of faith?
Yep. A sort of faith, a faith in.
Yes, we had been.
Yeah.
Yes, we had been faithful, abjectly faithful to the God of reason.
All right, stop there. Abjectly faithful, spiritless servility. That's what abject means. One of the definitions. It's incredible. Because the whole solution of recovery is spirit. It's a spiritual solution. Yeah. And it's saying with this abject faith in this thing, it's a spiritless, right? Servility. You're enslaved. Yeah. Isn't that an incredible word? Spiritless servility, abject faith in the self, really. And this is the presentation of recovery. Perhaps there's a better way. The other way was faith in the finite self, and now what we're presenting is there can be faith in the infinite. There can't be both. Yeah, like Jesus says, you can't have two masters at the same time. So there's either faith in finite self or faith in the infinite. And with an understanding, you'll be able to see where it stands. Yeah. You'll be able to see, as he said, you'll know the tree by its fruits. Yeah. So by looking at the fruits, you can see that it's a good tree. And a good tree cannot bring forth bad fruit, and a bad tree cannot bring forth good fruit. Yeah. So basically, he's talking about the force that has brought us to where we are and will bring us to wherever or whenever where we are is faith. And that faith has been put into something called the finite self and has led to us having to try to get fucking relief at cost. And that's the addiction of alcohol and drugs and other addictions. Yeah. And they're saying, perhaps there's a better way, which is faith, the same faith, but now the faith in the infinite. So both of them have faith, finite self, infinite. Yeah. It's where the faith lies. And so the program of recovery, once you get established for a day of not drinking and using, is to shift the faith in finite self to the infinite. That's the whole movement. So 36 years of it, 36 minutes of it. It's the same movement. Yeah. So when someone comes and sees you and they're coming in and they have tons of fucking reasons why everything sucks. And they're telling you those reasons. I don't have a place to live. I have a court date, bada bing, bada da da da. And you go, yeah, you're fucked. And they go, what should I do? And you say, go to a meeting. They don't see they don't make sense. They think, what do you mean? I got to get some money. I got to get this and that. Go to the meeting. That's faith in the infinite, really. That's a demonstration of it. And so basically, and you'll know the tree by its fruits. It will freaking work. It has worked. That's what AA is. It works. It really does, man. Even if you were using for 30 years and you only got 6 hours of freedom from it, that's 6 fucking hours you didn't have. You may have gone back, but it worked. You were free for those 6 hours, at least from the constant drinking and using. Yeah, so it works. And so that abject definition blows my mind. Spiritless servility. And that's what it's felt like in pitiful, incomprehensible demoralization. Because that's where you end up. That's the atmosphere of a bottom. It's pitiful, incomprehensible. The way the mental logic is, it cannot comprehend how it's going on. Yes, because it's over its pay scale. Yeah, but the faith in this idea of self is what has defeated us. Yeah, and the faith in the infinite is what's going to save us in a sense. Yeah, yeah. All right, bro. Thank you.
All right, the last sentence is, so in one way or another, we discovered that faith had been involved all the time.
One way and another, we're going to find out that faith was involved all the time. This moment is included, yes? If you say all of the time, this moment's included. Every past moment's included, and every future moment, it's all of the time. So their take on this is that faith is the moving force here, and we have been moved by faith that was placed in the finite self. So something in us called the head was playing God, and we had faith in that God. It's almost like a devout Christian would have faith in a cross, let's say. We were devout followers of the thought system. When it told us about us, we believed it. When it told us about you, we believed it. When it gave us suggestions, we followed it, and we ended up in a situation where we ended up. And truly, after you blame you or everyone else leading you to that point, it was actually faith. Faith put in something that was not reliable. Yeah, isn't it beautiful? I think it's incredibly beautiful, because that's what happened. I was presented a possibility, which is, all right, Paul, just on whatever level you're on right now, tell the truth. Is things working out? No. Yeah. Tell the truth. How bad was it? Bad. Tell the truth. Did it work better in Delancey Street when they told you what to do for 2 years, or for you following your own ideas for 2 years? It worked better with Delancey Street, who had no vested interest in me. Yeah. And every time I took offense of what they said to me, because I heard it as Paul, they said it as me as an addict. So they had a much better, clearer description of what I actually was than I did. And they told me as an addict, this ain't going to work. And Paul took offense at that. Yet, because I had nowhere else to go, I stayed there 2 years. And when I left, I didn't like them. I didn't like their way of doing things, but my life looked better with them running it than it ever did with me running it. What a fucking revelation. Yeah. So when you come to that conclusion, it brings you to the second step of AA, which is you come to believe that something is restoring you to sanity concerning the first drink, so to speak. Yes. Yes, because it's the insanity of the mind that leads you to the first drink. And once the genie gets out of the bottle, it has more than 3 wishes for you. If you crossed the line, which I had, yeah, I had crossed a line where I had no control over my intake of stuff or drinking. Yes, once I started, I didn't know what was going to happen. Yeah, I had a vague idea after a while, but it wasn't going to be good, but I didn't, yeah. So this is, if you hear this, and then you hear that perhaps there's a better way, you're not mentioned at all. It says trust. It says trust the infinite rather than finite self. There's no mention of you, but you're representative as the power of trust or faith. So where is the faith that you think you are? Where is it? Where is it now? And you'll see that faith is producing the effects that you're experiencing. Yeah. Wow. So yeah, it just blows my mind. And he basically says it's the faith is the main influence of everything all the time. Yeah. Yeah. So first tell the truth, what you had faith in. And the first statement in our 12-step program, the most important one isn't even a step, which is you got to quit playing God. Yeah. And then why? It doesn't work. Simple. Yeah. Now, when I heard that, when I came in, I thought I was playing God and I had to quit playing God. But if that which is playing God tries to quit playing God, that's playing God ad infinitum. So that which is playing God can't stop playing God. It's trying to stop playing God is playing God, yes? And I realized over time, I'm not that which is playing God. Something foreign to me is playing God. Wow. And so what would that look like if I quit it? It would continue to play God, but I would lose interest in it. Yes? So when it said left, I wouldn't turn left there all the time. Or if it says this is gonna suck, you should do this, I wouldn't do this. Yeah. So that faith was broken and had moved through this program, and the recognition of the defeat that I went under, this program set off a migration that never turned around. It's always been going the other way into faith is into the infinite. Yeah. And that to me is the basis of traveling light. It's not me, it's a recognition of the me is just up for grabs. Yeah. One faith in self, you wouldn't recognize me if you saw me while I was under the influence. You would fucking not recognize me in this room. My behavior, everything would become, the look, everything would be completely different. Yeah. Now faith in the infinite brings an ease and comfort. Yeah. But it's faith. It's the wind that blows every sail. And yet none of us are mentioning it. Just like in the movie with the doership, no one is looking at, is there actually a doer? Before we go off into you should do this or you shouldn't do that, is there actually a doer? Is there actually a thinker? Now, the beautiful thing with me when I came into AA, when I was out there, I didn't know I was like in a terminal unique cocoon. But when I sat in a meeting, it became obvious I was fucking disassociated from everyone in that room. And I was like a cocoon. Yeah. And I truly believe no one had my thoughts. No one thought like I did. No one felt like I did. No one did the shit that I had done. Yeah. Completely, no doubt, no debate, nothing. And then I just sat there for a couple of months, and everyone at these meetings share their thoughts, their feelings, and their actions. And I came to two conclusions. How did these people get my thoughts? Because they sure sounded like mine, and they sure sounded like my feelings, and they sure sounded like my behavior. Yeah. And if my behavior is done by many, it's not my behavior. Yeah. And then I saw the singularity of the defeat, which was unbelievable. I thought I did it, and I thought that guy did it, and I thought that girl did it, and that, no, it was something that we give a vague idea or a name to, which is self. Yeah. This is what has defeated us. And the big book talks about it very clearly. It says being convinced, self manifested in various ways. That's incredible, right? So something is like infested you, and it's now manifesting in you. Yeah. But the manifestations are not yours. They're coming from this like infestation. It's manifesting. And when the manifestations appear, you call them yours. What would that be described as? The act of being identified as something that you're not, yeah? If something that you're not, that's living in you and expressing through you, shows its expression, and these are resentments and fears and harms done to others in the pursuit of what you want, and you keep calling them yours, you're in the act of being identified with that has defeated you. Which, what would you imagine is going to be your future defeat? You're identified as that which has defeated you. You're going to have more defeat coming, yeah? So the day it was about 5 years sober, I don't know when, I saw that word self for the 1,000th time. I'd done this so many times because I led these workshops called the 4th step. And I was always in this chapter of how it works. And there it was sitting there. And I read it thousands of times, but this time I saw it as foreign to me. And it was being convinced self, foreign to me. Yeah, the whack right there. Manifested in various ways. I'm with you. I'm listening to you. Yeah, we're now going to look at its, and it has defeated us. Yeah, so self is the defeater. We're the defeated. We're not the same thing. Yeah. So being convinced self, the defeater, manifested in various ways is what has defeated us. So it has defeated us by its manifestations. Yeah. How? Because its manifestations are called ours. Yeah. If this is the case, we're now going to look at its common manifestation. So they go, let's start with resentment, because at that time, and probably to this day, it's known to be the killer of most alcoholics, grievance or resentment. In other words, there's a deep belief that someone did to you and had put you in this position you find yourselves, not faith, but someone else. Yeah, the cops, the family, the girlfriend that left, yes? So someone did this to you and you're fucking resentful. And that resentment leads you to drink and then you die, basically, in a lot of cases. So we're going to look at resentment, fear, and then look at harms done to others by the pursuit of what we want. So driven by selfishness and self-seeking, we step on other people's toes. We don't give a shit. We just want to get what we want to get. Yeah. Then fear, after a few years in this program, I realized fear wasn't fear. It was mental anxiety, because fear is a valid emotion. And if someone threatens me right now, fear may arise. And if it seems like a big enough threat, adrenaline may kick in. So I can take flight or fight. But most people are calling fear, but it's mental anxiety. They're thinking themselves into fear. They're not thinking, the thought system is bringing them into fear. Yeah. So the mental anxiety plays the instrument of fear, but it's not an apparent threat. It's made up. So now you're getting electrocuted a few times a day, or maybe all day, with these jolts of thoughts. I'm going to get fucked, or whatever it is. And there's such a faith in it, you react as if it's happening right now. So you feel like you're going to get fucked by somebody. And at that moment, somebody's not even around, and you feel as if you've been fucked by someone. What is that but faith? How could next week affect you now unless it was given faith? How? There's never been a Tuesday that a Wednesday has bled into. Never. 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 Past or future. If they have to be brought here, the head brings yesterday and tomorrow to this moment. And if there's faith in it, this moment will be filled with yesterday and tomorrow. And basically, it can make up anything. Yeah. And therefore you're getting whacked by mental anxiety. And then the harms done to others in the pursuit of what you want is, we look at the sexual arena, because usually when you want a babe and stuff, you don't give a shit if you have a boyfriend or not, or a woman's going out with a lot of married men. So obviously she doesn't give a shit about them woman who's married to the guy or whatever. Yeah, so these self-centered drives was just a field of looking at it. And what do we come to? We see our role in things, which was one of the biggest effects of recovery for me, because I could not, when I resented Wendy, I could not see my role in it. All I could see was Wendy's role in it. Wendy left me, Wendy did this, Wendy did that. I could not make the connection between what happened that I believe Wendy caused and my role in it. And finally, through these old dudes in the program, Joe and Charlie, I learned, I saw my role in things. And we asked just 4 simple questions. Where were you, or are you selfish, self-seeking and frightened, inconsiderate and dishonest? So the whole attention goes off of Wendy and goes to you fucking finally. And then you see your role in things. Now, here we are with this platform, and we're attempting to add something to it, not subtract anything from it, no, but add something to it, because many of us, after we started looking at our role in things, we saw something else's role in things, which is this idea of self. And we saw the parasite in our history. We saw it on paper. Yeah. And right now in our community, there's not a basis for the next movement, which would be accountability. So we would see that, yes, I did all that shit while under the influence, but I'm not responsible for it. I'm accountable for it, but I did not choose or direct that. Yes, I was brought to where I found myself by what? Faith in finite self. There you go. Yeah. Yeah. Just put it out on the table. Yeah. If you get something out of it, but how are you going to, if you're thinking for everything, yet you're just a cog, it would be important to recognize your role and see the system's role, because you are more an effect of the system than a cause of the system. Yeah. You are driven, you're by 100 forms of selfing, you're self-imposed calamities. You know, it seems like you're getting whacked without knowing what's the hell's going on. We need to have some knowledge about what has defeated us. Yeah, and we call it in recovery self. Yeah, so we look at self's manifestations in our life and stop calling them ours. Yeah, and start. And the funny thing is, and it's not funny, because many of us, we are very self-centered, no gratitude, and then you get sober and you have an incredible sense of gratitude, and you feel truly like something did for you what you couldn't do for yourself. Because it's stated in our book that no human power could get us sober, and that was the case in my life. My mother wanted me to be sober. The state wanted me to be sober. I wanted me to be sober. Nothing was working, but something did it. Yeah, something struck me sober. Yeah, and then you feel like a lot of gratitude, and you want to do service, and you want to work with other people because you want them to have the same relief that you're having. Yes, because you see this commonality of what is disturbing us. They're not uniquely fucked. It's a standardized, formatted fuck. And we've been under it, many of us. Yeah. So, and I noticed that I could feel gratitude and honor for that grace or the higher power for relieve me of this bondage. But I saw is very different when you go to your past. Yeah. So here I am being thankful for something doing for me what I couldn't do for myself, but I'm not truthful about something doing through me what I would never do by myself. I'm not pinning the crime on the true assailant. I'm taking the rap. I'm taking complete responsibility for all that shit I did. And now that all this good shit's happening, I give the gratitude to the higher power, but I don't pin the crimes on the criminal. This parasite gets away with fucking murder, literally. And now people who have 36 years sobriety still are connected to an umbilical cord all the way to the past, because they still believed that they were the doer of the shit they had nothing to do with. They were being used and driven to go to that place. They did not choose to go there. Yeah. When the hell is there going to be that relief? Now the bell rings perfectly. The bell just rang, and as I say, when the bell rings, it's now. Yeah. Yeah. So this is what we're into. I mean, if someone else would have said it, I would be doing something else, but I didn't hear it. And this is a vast community. Yeah. And whatever. So that's the point, Mike. Okay. But I love the definition of abject, spiritless servility. That's incredible. And in recovery, we say the solution is a spiritual solution. And yet the faith in self is a spiritless servility. Spiritless, no spirit. Isn't that incredible? So they picked the perfect word, the abject. Yeah, they did. Abject faith in something that fails. We live the life of spiritless servility in underneath that faith in self. Incredible. Yeah. Hallelujah. So yeah. All right, Michael. We were probably muted the whole time.
That's awesome.
It's okay.
No, you're good.
Sending signs. They're sending special AA signs, This one we all know, but others, yeah. Trying to get it across. Yeah. All right, Mike. Anyone?
Hey, all right. This is the time where we open it up for a discussion. If anybody has any questions on what Paul's read on the 12 steps, or would just like to come in and share experience with, please raise your hand.
And Mike, make sure that you put up the bottom of 53, 54. Just read the top paragraph in 54. And then tell me what you think sometime. Well, I mean, what does it mean? If faith has to do with whatever's going on all the time, I would think you would like to have a sense of what that is, because if the faith is in something that is not deserving of faith, you may be the expression and the effect of that, yeah, without knowing it. So at least bring some knowledge into the situation. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. It's in the chat, the page numbers.
Thank you.
You bet. Well, I don't see any hands up, Paul, but I kind of had a question on what you said about, like, where it says that referring to our list, putting out of our mind wrongs other have done, we resolutely look for our own mistakes. And now this is a question on, like, I guess the mechanics of doing a fourth step. And then where we've been selfish, dishonest, self-seeking, and frightened. Okay. Now, Paul, if I was under the influence and you and I were hanging out for a month, okay, and we were doing our thing together, then there would be probably in that month, or just even in one day, I'll just take one day. In that one day, there would probably be over 1,000 times that I would be selfish, dishonest, self-seeking, right? Okay.
Yes.
And that's just one day of me using. Okay. Now, when they say, we resolutely look for our own mistakes and the mechanics of it, did one person go back and look at every single
No,
they had been selfish?
I don't go that way. I believe a few of those expressions will show a pattern. So you want to see a pattern in all of those singular events that led to being defeated by this idea of self. Yeah. So it's the pattern that's important. So you don't have to go over, because obviously if you're seeing life through self, then you're self-centered all the time. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
We want to see the pattern. We want to recognize a pattern of defeat, not the singular battles. You know what I mean? And one of the things I found with doing the inventory, because if you ever remember the Joe and Charlie printouts, they used to have the word self above the instinctual agenda. That implied like self was managing your action figure drives to get to be okay. Yes. And the self was the manager of it. And you would notice that what self took important, you would find more of its manifestations. So if I was very concerned with how other people or how I thought other people were seeing me, and I was trying to save my face, yeah, just like when I came in AA, they told me, you got to be willing to save your ass instead of your face, but I thought my face was my ass, yeah. I was trying to save my image or this mental image. So with that, when I looked at the social instincts, a lot of resentments and anxiety were there. So you can see the pattern of what self takes to be important in your life by where it shits, yeah? When you're doing the inventory. You know what I mean? So there's value, and that was valuable because everything that it has value to, you think you have value, yeah? Because it says, I like this, and then we just mimic it, and I go, I like this, you know, or I'm feeling terrible, I'm feeling terrible. We're like a parrot, yes? Yeah. When it says my resentments, it's telling the truth. They are self's resentments. But we hear that and we believe they're our resentments. Self is telling the truth when it says, I resent that fucker. It does, but we don't. Yes? Do you see it? There's a difference. There's a distinction. And if you don't make the distinction, the next, so much happens to us without knowing it. I mean, it can go on. They could add sentence after sentence of what can, you can look at what happens to many of us. We're the last ones to know we have a seemingly deadly disease of mind and body. That's insane. Yeah. Someone who doesn't even know me, sees me for 5 minutes, knows I'm an addict. But I'm going for 20 years. Am I it's just insane. That's because there's like a fucking cloud of obstruction going on. The parasite obstructs the host, yeah, and talks to the host as the host, yeah. This is the act of being identified as something that you're not. And it's going on without knowing it because we truly believe we are a thing, yeah, and we never see a spirit as a permanent inherent condition. We try to, it looks at something that we have to get and maintain and work at, yeah, because we see ourselves as a physical mental condition, yeah. But truly, it's saying here that we are of a spiritual condition. And the greatest maintenance of a spiritual condition would be to know you are a spiritual condition instead of a physical mental condition. Yeah. So the spiritless servility is truly the dynamic of bondage of self. That's what it is. It's a spiritless there's not even a suspecting of that inner resource of spirit. You're bereft of it. You're enslaved or bound to this idea of self. And you know what? Not seeing a rosy future, you're willing to pay any consequence tomorrow not to feel uncomfortable now. And so you fucking keep doing shit that you know you shouldn't do, and you're completely in a dilemma of powerlessness. Yeah, all the things you relied on that would lead you to stop doing what's killing you, don't do that. You just keep doing what's killing you. Yeah, you're in a dilemma of powerlessness. You're assuming you have power, but you don't have power. That power has been taken or directed somewhere else. And that which is talking to you about, yeah, have another fucking drink, you're gonna follow through with that. With complete knowledge that it's going to fuck you completely. You'll still do it. And Amelia, she is involved with this stuff. So she having been driven by a motherly instinct, she would say no mother would ever offend or hurt their children. And I said, I beg to differ. You should come to some meetings, because you'll hear women that gave up their kid for a fucking hit of crystal meth or something. Yes, this is where it brings us to. It is spiritless servility. Yeah. And that same faith that manifests as spiritless servility could manifest as an ease and comfort right now. The faith is neutral. It's what it's put into that produces the effect. Faith is neutral. It's just there. It can make mountains, or it can level mountains, or make mountains out of molehills. It's not it's just force. It's just power in manifestation. What manifests here is pushed here into manifestation by faith. Yeah. And therefore, you'll know the tree by its roots. I mean, Jesus Christ. The self is not going to get that he can't get out of self. It just doesn't get it. And like it says here, the greatest delusion of us is that confronted with all the unmanageability of a life, the head will just say, well, if I only manage better, it's all going to get well. It just refuses to fucking give up the ghost. Yeah. And the death of it is loss of interest, really. And the whole program of AA, if you look at page 63, pivots on an effect. One of the effects of being immersed in the bondage of self is, without knowing it, the opposite effect is losing interest in self. When you start losing interest in self, all this shit starts to happen. You feel a new power flow in, you sense a presence, you learn how to face life successfully, da 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 da. But all of those effects pivot on the loss of interest in self, and self cannot lose interest in self. So you have to see what you're identified as, and what you are identified is not you. Yeah, I feel. So, and here we are, Tuesdays, Thursdays, pounding away. This nail isn't about going through the wood. It's just hitting the nail. It's the sound. There's no point to it other than that sound getting through. Yeah. You have it all. You've been fucked. You've been run over. I got run over twice in the same night by the same car. This is what alcoholism does. It throws a little fucking extra spice into the mix. You know what I mean? Someone falls asleep on heroin and the blood stops going to their leg, and they have to get their leg cut off. When they finally wake up, their fucking leg is dead. Yeah. So yeah. Anyone, Mike?
No, we have no. It's pretty quiet today. No hands up.
Wow, this is that's awesome, actually. So I feel like that completely. I do. I feel like that completely. Yeah. Yeah. So, but all right. Well,
You know, one thing that's always helped me, Paul, was when you said that, like, we have a resentment, but in fact, a resentment had me. That switch, if you could speak on that just for a second, that switch was just fundamental in, getting the
yeah.
card out. So,
Well, there's a stubborn sense of ownership that's not deserved. So when you're under alcoholism, you think you're the one who has alcoholism, but alcoholism has you. Yeah, you're being used for transportation. At that point, you're not the driver. You're the driven. Yeah. So this idea, I have a resentment. No, the resentment has you. The anger has you. Yeah. And sometimes the anger for 10 minutes having you ends up in a 10-year prison sentence. Yeah. So it's not you got angry expressed through you. Yeah. This head of, I don't agree with this in the book, that you manufacture your own misery. I do not believe that. I believe, if you use an example of you as a factory and me as a factory, and we can produce a product, but that product we're going to produce is based on who's running the factory. When self is running the factory, it's going to produce misery. Yeah. I do not believe you're used for the production of misery. I don't think you're the cause of the production of misery. Yeah. And that same factory in better hands or different hands will produce different products. Yeah. Like an ease and comfort now, or a desire, an empathy or a desire to be available to others. Yes. So again, I think grace is neutral. I think faith is neutral, if you want to call it. It's an unseen force, but an incredibly influential one. And they're explaining how they saw it, that faith is the basic, the main influence of wherever or however you are, right, at all times. So obviously, you're after faith. Faith, you're the sail and faith is the wind. You're not blowing your fucking life. Your life is being blown, so to speak. Yeah. And we have an option in recovery based on the fact that you're going to be used, and we're going to detail what it's like to be used by the old employer, and now you have a new employer. And that's represented as the higher power. Yeah. Being all powerful, it's going to take care of you. You know how this is such a lovely BALM for people who have been driven by a desire to control and manage everything. When you hear the good news that you're going to be taken care of, isn't that what most action figures really want? Yeah. And then, all right, here comes the requirements. You got to stay close to it. How can you be far from everywhere? So you've already met that requirement. And the next requirement is performance works well. Like being, nice person, so to speak. That's it. Yeah. That's the contract. This new employer being all powerful is going to take care of you if you stay close to it and perform as it works well. That's the contract in the AA. Yeah. So now you feel like you're in good hands instead of having something, throttling you all the time. You feel like things are going to work out, or they are working out. And that is a very nice way to travel. Yeah. Yeah. So beautiful. So it says a new employer obviously implies there was an old employer. The old employer, we could call it the lower power. The new employer is the higher power. One is rooted in self, the other is rooted in infiniteness. Yeah. Yeah. You're going to be blown either one way or the other, basically. That's what it's saying. Why not tell the truth about how it was being determined by faith and self, and then find out how it will be being determined by the infinite? Yeah. This is what happened with me. We did this in San Francisco AA. When you first went in, they'd have you write, what would you like after your first year of sobriety? And most of us were so beaten down. So you would write. And then if you stayed sober, they would bring it out and go, and you'd look at how your life looked after this year of sobriety and how huge it was compared to what you were expecting, how small your vision was. It was every one of us. It was like, oh, I'll not be in jail, or blah, 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 blah. It's unbelievable fucking stuff. You see? Yeah. Yeah. So I'm a true believer. Yeah.
Let's say something.
So anyone, or we'll say, oh, we have someone in the, I think he's a bona fide.
I don't need to be on.
You don't need to be on it.
No.
All right, I'll have to tell him though. Go ahead.
First, you
Hey,
talked about.
hey, Luke, our friend Luke raised his hand. Hi, Luke.
All right, go Luke. Yeah, let's get this, and then because
Hold
they
on,
can't.
fellas. And ladies, sorry. My name is Luke, and I'm an alcoholic. I don't know what the protocol is. It's my first time here, but I loved hearing these insights, because I was taking my dog for a walk, and I was wondering about sort of why do I have to put this faith in the higher power? And it almost seems like the currency by which I buy the freedom. You know what I mean? When I'm in self, I buy my way out through faith in the divine, in faith that this process works in other people. And I sort of copped a resentment against God. I was like, well, why do I have to believe in you? Can't you just like give me the proof first and then I'll, it was just this backwards paradigm. But the talk you gave tonight gave a lot of sense to it. It was, it's almost like it was interchangeable in my brain with willingness. That was the conclusion that I reached was faith was just, for in all practical terms, a willingness to take these actions that other people do, even if I don't think that they can work in me. But they have. And I appreciated the perspective that you lent on it. I don't know that I necessarily have a question. I just wanted to show my appreciation for the new perspective and sort of sound some things out in my own relationship to faith, and just absolutely wonderful talk tonight. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Luke, and welcome. Yeah. And for me, the more important was seeing the effect of faith in self. And that was sort of the default mechanism goes, when I lose faith in self, I gain faith in the infinite. I don't need to target it as any name. Really, where the faith goes back is to the original bank it came from, which is the infinite. It got waylaid. The money got sort of put into another account of self. So the real convincer for me was my own evidence in life. The understanding brought it into illumination of being so directed by thoughts. There had to be a force in there somewhere. And the name of faith made sense to me, that there was faith in the thoughts that were alcoholic thoughts. And their prime purpose was to foster or reinforce alcoholism, not to free me from alcoholism. Yeah. So I went, that's how the way I went. Once I lost faith in self, then the faith just naturally went to the infinite, I felt. Yeah. I didn't have to direct it. And the idea of the higher power, I wasn't that keen on the higher power of your own understanding, but I understand why they presented it that way. But very quickly, if you participate in it, you're gonna relinquish your understanding of God and have a God or a higher power of its own understanding. And then that's revelatory. So now the higher power tells you about it instead of you trying to know about it. It tells you about it. So, and that's shifted in like the second year of sobriety, and that's the way I've held it for 34 years, is that way. So there was a lot of little shaky things, and then they got established, and they've been like that ever since. Pretty cool. Yeah. So yeah, a higher power of its own understanding. Yeah. So thanks. Thank you. And welcome. Come back if you like. We're here every Tuesday, Thursday, unless we're not.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate the share. Anyone else, or we have someone in the room wants to stay anonymous? Mike?
All right, I'll get it. No, I'm just kidding.
But I'm
Without
gonna,
knowing it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you can, I'll.
no, I need you know so that they can hear you.
I would, yeah,
All
and
right.
plus there might be anyway.
They can't hear it. There's
So you said something about without knowing it, and I think that's different than being in denial, because in denial is like an idea that I'm
It's
doing
much
it.
different than, something is unsuspected, like they say in AA, there's an unsuspected inner resource. You have no idea it's there or not there.
Right.
There's no, you're not.
It works
suspecting
both
it.
ways,
So
basically.
this way is without knowing it, you're being directed or led by something.
Right.
It's not like you're choosing it one way or the other. You just don't know that faith is moving you at every moment. You think it's you moving you or someone else moving you.
Right.
And it may look like that, but they're saying the fact of it is faith is moving you.
Without knowing
And
it.
what the faith is in.
Right.
And AA just makes a broad distinction, faith in finite self and faith in the infinite. Those are the possibilities. So we tell the truth of what it was like to live a life based on faith and finite self, and now we share the joy of living a life in faith in the infinite.
Mm.
And some of us have been sober for a long, long time, where we couldn't stay sober for a day.
Right.
Yeah, so, yeah. So
Well, I was
that's-
talking to Tom about this yesterday, the finite and the infinite, because he just came from a little retreat he did. And I was telling him that like this was something that was presented in 1935, 39, actually, when the book came out.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's what's so amazing is this book made clear to me what listening to 25 different spiritual speakers didn't, because it was always about applying all this information I was getting. And they call it a spiritual bypass, right? But it really isn't, because there's nothing spiritual about it if I'm objectively faithful to the thing that's trying to gather information,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
So that, without knowing it, brought me back to, are we not victims of the delusion that we could wrest satisfaction out of the world and the people in it
yes,
if we could just manage it well?
better, yes.
So that's the unmanageability, that second half of step one, there's a dash there, became way more clear to me when I saw this presented at this as a foreign entity, and that I wasn't the doer,
Yes,
because I was holding on to shame, guilt, and pain of what had happened in the past, even after making an amends.
yeah.
Still walking away with my tail between my legs, like, oh, I still fucked that up. They'll never forgive me.
Yes.
And being willing to do whatever I could to make it right, but it was still there, you
Well,
know?
you would never forgive them.
Right, right. So this round of amends that I experienced, I didn't have that. It was like shaken off.
Right.
And I have relationships with these people because they know when the amends is bullshit anyway, if I'm coming at them
Yeah.
out of self, right?
Yeah,
They're like,
same
you know, here
sorry.
comes this. Yeah, exactly.
They've heard that thousands of times.
At the minimum, yeah.
Yeah, but
So-
an amend is to change one's behavior or allow the behavior to be changed. Yeah.
Right.
And that's what you do. You stay to a person and say, what I did to you, first of all, I would have done to anyone else
Mhm.
if they were in the way. And you know, I'm attempting to live like I'm not gonna do it to anyone else, so.
Right.
The amend, and there you go. And now you have some power in your statements, and you actually have conviction, and you may not do that ever again to another person. So
Right.
there's power now, instead of the sorry and all this bullshit and do the same old, you got some power to really be, things can actually change.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. It's cool.
One last thing.
Yeah.
I swear I'll shut up, you guys. You said something about seeing patterns in the
Yeah.
fourth step. And then what you just said is seeing those patterns in the behaviors in friendships, intimate relationships, jobs, and that seeing those patterns connected to this power that's driving me is what gave me freedom from the idea that I was doing all this.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's, I like
Yeah.
that presented that way.
Yeah, great. Well, thank you, Mike. Mike will now go to Assisi or wherever, Venice, and yes. Anyone else, or we'll start saying goodbye.
No other hands up, Paul. Thank you so much.
Yeah, remember, Michael, remember,
Hold on, Chris.
Hey,
Chris,
hold
wait.
on.
what?
Hey, you know, recently, good morning. Paul, recently you're talking a lot about page 53 and 54. And anyways, I was in my morning meeting and I mentioned that, you know, I'm really grateful to be able to do the inventory. And as I'm out looking for my part and whatever, I get to see the movement of self. And so after the meeting, this guy runs up to me, goes, well, do you expect people to come up to you and ask you the question, like, how do you see the movement of self? I go, no, I said, there's no hook. I don't care what they do. I go, I'm just talking about myself. It has nothing to do with anybody else. I said, if they want to ask me, I'm open. He goes, okay, then I'm asking you. He was so he was upset. So, you know, my guard went up and, you know, I go into fight or flight and or it does. And I'm noticing it, but I want to answer him as clearly as possible. So he says, in the big book where is capitalized, wherever it's capitalized, it's always God. And then I go, are you sure? And he goes, well, no. And I go, well, neither am I. I said, so that's a good opportunity for both of us to call our sponsors and have a discussion and maybe check inventory. And I knew, I knew because I went back and I read it and I go, there's no way that the God of reason is the God of the universe, right? And it explains that really clearly. But if someone is going around, I said, it's interesting because a lot of people rant off things, but they never take the time to take a look at the true meaning behind what they're really saying and implying, right? And I said, as a newcomer, I just took whatever was said and did it. I said, but I've been around a lot of years. And I said, so to run into this or be part of this and seeing it different is what God has really revealed to me. And I said, and I'm open to the idea that if I'm wrong, it's okay, then I have to relearn it in a different way. But I just think it was funny that this is a guy that sits and has his head literally in the book the whole time during the meeting. And he's a wonderful person. Yeah. And he's helped so many people. And those people have helped so many people. So it's not like I'm trying to kick him to the curb. I'm saying, this is just what I do. And it works. So anyway, I want to know if you have anything to say with that, because I did talk to my sponsor, but I did do a spot check inventory and I saw how I was being kidnapped by this train of thought and pride and fear came up and social instincts were affected, blah, 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 right? So, and now I'm perfectly fine like it didn't happen, but I wanted to share the experience.
Yeah. Well, what do you want to hear?
Well, I just want to, so first off, do you agree that in the book that the God of reason is not the creator of the universe?
Yes.
Okay.
Agree with that for sure. We just heard it. We just read it. The God
all right,
of
you're free to go.
The God of reason that's the playing God. The playing God is the God of reason.
But isn't it interesting because it's in capitals? He goes, it's in capitals, and that's God. And I'm going like,
I read the book with a magnifying glass. I'm hoping living it's teaching, not going over the sentence.
So the other piece of that, I said, maybe this is more for me than it is for you, because I'm facing,
But the guy asked you can tell them, yeah. You know what happened to me all the time? I would share at AA, and the people would love it, and I'd say, "Go to Zen Bitch Slap." I never see them again. So, if what I said was framed as AA, they loved it. If there was put in another frame, they hate. It was a danger. This is a lot. There's so much. You can see so much by stuff. Yeah. So, yeah. If something really worked for you, you would probably become defensive around it. And when something was presented that was not like right out of the book, you may take offense at that and want to defend it because of how much you felt by the relief. Yeah, it's just not a natural, but the head works that way. So a lot of times, these are not new ideas. They're rooted in the big book. They're right in there. You can read it and you'll see it. And yet,
but even the rightness is a form of that thing taking over.
The what? Oh, the rightness.
The rightness, yeah. That
that's where they put that Herbert Spencer thing. Be careful of that. You don't fall into contempt prior to investigation.
Yeah.
And everyone is doing it the exact moment they're reading that. They're falling into contempt prior to investigation.
Yeah.
So you can't, hey, there are incredible, the AA program is incredible, but there's people in it.
Yeah.
Governments, there's great ideas that could bring about a utopia, but there's people. We're infected and we're an infection ourselves. Yeah. Did you ever wonder, like in the New Age, the biggest thing everyone was afraid of, like going to India and shit, was parasites. Yet we've been
Yeah.
taken over by a parasite, basically, a mental one. And you see, it's weird. The recognition of that gets weirdly turned into a fear of parasites. Yeah. I mean, first thing, it was always parasites, you know, and yet you're under the influence of a parasite. But what are you gonna do? You know, just whatever. Yeah, I
I'd
don't
like
have,
to see my doctor show up
I
on
don't have
here.
any destination. I'm sharing as a member what I've gotten out of the program of recovery. And I maybe other stuff that amplified it. And if every person I met in AA was chilled and had no connection to the past and wasn't walking around with guilt and shame based on being the doer of shit they didn't do, I wouldn't say a fucking thing. But that's not the case. Yes. There's a lot of suffering in recovery. And I don't think all of it is warranted, so to speak. Yeah, people say, well, that's just the way things are, but me sharing is just that's the way the things are. You know, I just yeah. I don't, yeah. I think the book is a living book. I don't think it should be petrified. And I believe it says that we know but a little, and people who come after us are going to add on to it. Yes. And so this is what happens. People see things in a different way, and they fits into the larger spectrum of recovery, and they share it. Yes. It's not a draft, or you're not going to be into forced labor. You just, here's an idea, maybe it'll work for you. Yeah. Because the point is to be relieved from the bondage of self and be of maximum use to yourself and others. Yeah. To be completely preoccupied by past and future that doesn't look like being of maximum use to people. Doesn't. So, yeah. All right.
Yeah, hey, thanks for letting me jump in at the last minute. This
Oh,
was
it's
awesome.
okay, bro. It's all
Yeah,
right.
yeah, thank you so much. Have a great
Some
day.
people in the room that I love to disappoint when they think things are going to be over, and I just like to throw a 10 minutes more. Yeah, just to irritate the person. Sort of a form of East Coast love, really. So, yeah. All right. I'm gonna say goodbye. I'm gonna say, Greg, thank you. Thank you for jumping in. And
Thank you.
we got Michael Stacy as always. Thank you, Michael. Annette, Axel. Oh, by the way, we're gonna be here Thursday also and Saturday. And then next Tuesday, we will not be here because we'll be traveling. And yeah, all right. So, but I think it's on the website. Martin, yeah, I think it's on the website. We're not gonna have obviously next Tuesday isn't gonna happen because we'll be going to the airport. Yeah? Yeah. So, all right, but Thursday will, and then the rest of the stuff will kick in. There'll be one Wednesday night, hopefully, and everything. Okay, let me get on with saying goodbye. We got Kathy. Oh, Axel. Axel will be seeing you soon. And if you are interested in a place to park your caravan, we have some information of a place. So we'll try to WhatsApp you. Yeah, just
Okay. Thank you.
there's one near the coast. Yeah,
Oh,
all right.
nice.
Kathy L, as always, nice to see you, Kathy. All's well? Yeah, good, good. Rico, a man of his word, fantastic. Marl, nice to see you, honey. Yeah. Joseph in France, always a pleasure. David in South Carolina. Thank you, David, for all the donations and everything. And really, I really liked the role you played in the retreat. It was beautiful. Yeah,
This was a
very,
wonderful session today. Thank you so much.
oh, you're welcome. Welcome. Sean, as always, nice to see you, bro. Mickey, the matriarch of Madeira, the permanent greeter of these Zooms. Yes. No spirit of rotation. No. No. BC, Moving to AD. John K., nice to see you. Martin, thank you for all the service. Pleasure to meet you, bro. And yeah, we'll have to do it more often. Jeffrey in Seattle, delivering eyes and ears for those who can see and hear. Not bad. Or those who can't see and hear. John in Florida. Yes, he's one of our missionaries there in Florida. Yes. It's a tough assignment, but Saraswati, it's nice to see you. Oh, she looked like a statue. She just moved. All right, that's cool. Teresa. Yes, Joseph. Oh, Jacob from Hudson Valley. Nice to see you, Jacob. Yes. Yeah. Oliver in Berlin. Probably rained in Berlin today too. It's nasty down here. Jason. Miss Volkman. Ben, Steve in San Diego. We got Kimia, phone numbers. Jason, Jules on vocals. Always nice. Hey, thank you, everyone. Thanks. You know, that tradition, I think it's tradition 2 or 5, a loving power is expressing itself through our group conscience. Yeah, so. Yes, all right, thanks, good night, bye-bye.
Thank you,
Thank
Paul.
you, Paul.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Paul. Thank you, Mike, for
Yes.
letting us serve.
Thanks, Mike.